When I saw the number 76,000 in the first year and 78,000 in the second year and 85,000 in the third year, I mean, for somebody who is now the face of women's basketball, it seemed kind of ridiculous. A guy who is in the NBA first year, they can get 10 million. And I get it. Wow. Their ticket sales and the math and all that.
Let's dive into a controversial topic that has many liberals upset. Caitlin Clark's $76,000 WNBA salary. Ben Shapiro is here to address the criticism, pointing out the misplaced outrage and common misunderstandings about money.
In any case, Caitlin Clark making 76 grand, and Hoda is very disturbed. Not disturbed enough to, cut into her multi-million-dollar salary for Caitlin Clark, but disturbed.
The left is outraged over Caitlin Clark's earnings, insisting she should make millions. And why not? Caitlin is undeniably a once-in-a-generation athlete, often compared to legends like Steph Curry for her long-range shooting and dynamic style of play. But let's slow down for a moment. If you're going to argue for fair pay, you need to be consistent. That's where things start to fall apart.
Will be paid next year a whopping total of $76,000 in the WNBA. And everybody is very, very angry about this. No, they say, no, she's worth millions. So first of all, I'm going to use the left-wing argument that they're constantly using with regard to entertainers who make a lot of money, which is, but a public school teacher's only making like 45 grand. So why is Caitlin Clark more important than, again, all those arguments go out the window when it's somebody that they supposedly like.
That's right. Some people argue that entertainers and athletes don't deserve their high salaries because public school teachers make only around $45,000 a year. What's ironic is that this argument conveniently disappears when it's someone they admire. Where are the calls for equity then? Should Caitlin Clark earn less so her salary could be redistributed to educators? Of course not. That argument only appears when it fits a certain narrative.
But there's just something about this that is so disturbing. I picture all the little girls with signs that say Caitlin, and then they're like, but this is what her contract.
This TV anchor seems upset, worried that Caitlin Clark's fans, the young girls who cheer her on, would be disappointed in the WNBA. Now, let's hear what Ben Shapiro has to say.
To WNBA games, which is why her contract is worth $76,000. When women are complaining about the salaries in the WNBA, as comedian Bill Burr has pointed out, women are half the population. They can go to WNBA games, but they don't. So why are you yelling at all the men about the salaries in the WNBA?
Before Caitlin Clark came onto the scene, few girls held WNBA signs. Stadiums were practically empty for years. Now that the league is finally generating some buzz, some people are complaining about salaries to men, even though the league is literally called the Women's NBA.
WNBA has a gross annual revenue of like $180 million. That's for all of the teams. And there are dozens of teams. The gross NBA revenue is $11 billion. $11 billion. You want to know why the salaries are different? Because the revenue is different. Because people watch the NBA and no one watches the WNBA.
That's right. The reason Caitlin Clark is being paid $76,000 comes down to basic economics. Let me explain. Clark's league, the WNBA, simply doesn't generate as much revenue as the NBA. The WNBA earns around $180 million across all its teams, while the NBA brings in about $11 billion, nearly 60 times more. That's why NBA players earn higher salaries. It's not about unfairness, it's just how money works. Think of it this way. A small company making $100 can afford to pay $10 to an employee, while a larger company earning $1,000 can pay $100. Both are paying 10% of their income, but the actual amounts are vastly different.
Are you ready? $76,000. In fact, listen to me. Listen to this, because if you thought that was some way to hear this. The entire Fever payroll is $1.2 million.
Less.
That is less than the minimum salary for a single NBA player with a year's experience.
Are you kidding me? NBA viewership is significantly higher than the WNBA's. People have been watching the NBA for decades, while the WNBA hasn't had nearly the same audience, at least until recently.
So the women have the headlines, they have the fans, they have the viewers. When the hell are they going?
I can't believe what this anchor is saying. It's completely delusional. I'd bet that the person complaining about WNBA salaries has never even bought a ticket to a game. And think about this. For a business that has been struggling financially, $76,000 isn't a bad salary for just 10 weeks of work. Imagine your boss has been operating in the red for 44 years and is still paying you this much. Would you be ungrateful and mock them to their face? Absolutely not. I know I wouldn't.
And get paid. We're asking you to get paid the same percentage of revenue shared.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Got it. So that's a huge misconception.
That's a huge misconception about that. Like, I don't think I should get paid the same as LeBron.
Right.
But the percentage of revenue, like, for example, they sell my jersey in Mandalay Bay, I don't get a dime.
Here, we see Kelsey Plum complaining about her percentage of income and not receiving any money from jersey sales. What's funny is that, before Caitlin Clark, I had never seen anyone wearing a WNBA player's jersey, ever.
Every year, these contracts get bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah, massive.
But that's because their CBA, it negotiates where if the owners are making certain types of money, they get that as well.
Got it.
In the WNBA, that's not the case.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a more rational request, at least. The only problem is the WNBA, until Caitlin Clark, had no revenue.
That's right. This argument is actually pretty hilarious. If WNBA players were paid strictly based on revenue, Caitlin Clark would technically owe the league around $63,000 for every year she's been on an active roster. Since the WNBA isn't making a profit, 50% of zero sales is still zero. The WNBA is actually subsidized by the NBA. Shouldn't players be grateful they even have a job with steady paychecks?
And no one watches the WNBA at all. The numbers are abysmal. Every time the women's national soccer team wins a championship, wins a World Cup, everybody's like, this is the moment when women's soccer in the United States is just going to take off on a professional level. And 2 years later, the league is bankrupt because no one went to see a women's soccer game, because why would you? A bunch of high school boys could beat them.
That's right. Women make up half the population, and if they want higher salaries in the WNBA, they could simply attend games and support their league. But the numbers don't lie. WNBA attendance and TV ratings are still abysmal compared to the NBA. It's not just men avoiding the games. Women aren't tuning in either. So why are these so-called feminists pointing fingers at men?
When it comes to college basketball for women's sports, people have regional loyalty to the school. So you'll see a lot of men who go to like an Iowa basketball game for women because they have loyalty to the school. But once they're separated off from the school, are you like desperate to go see an Indiana Fever game? Do you got the fever for the Indiana Fever?
Regional loyalty plays a big role. Many fans, both men and women, love to watch athletes perform at their college games, but that loyalty often fades in the WNBA. That said, Caitlin Clark has managed to draw impressive numbers for her games, but she should be seen as a phenomenal exception rather than the rule.
I don't understand why, because ESPN, who we work for, also part of the Disney thing, they came in and swooped in and said, oh, okay, we're going to start to do this. But they should have kissed this deal by taking care of all of the WNBA and giving them enough money for a bump up, because you have another deal.
Caitlin Clark isn't struggling despite her $76,000 WNBA salary. Thanks to endorsement deals worth millions, including a major partnership with a $13 billion supermarket chain, she's financially secure. Her WNBA pay reflects the league's revenue, not her individual market value, which is why comparing her salary to NBA players is misleading. The league relies on NBA subsidies, and attendance and viewership are still growing. Clark's talent and marketability are undeniable, and her earnings from endorsements highlight her unique appeal. In short, she's being fairly compensated for what the league can afford, while thriving financially outside of it.